Hello, my name is Mark Plummer. Thank you for joining me on my video. This will be my second video on the series of colonizing America from Britain. My first video was on mercantilism. It was an economic theory practiced from the 15th to the 18th century in Europe, and what role it played in the colonization of America. It is still available here on YouTube, so feel free to go look it up and watch it. If you like this video, please be sure to click like so that I know you enjoyed it. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel so that you may know when the next videos come out. And as a favor to me, I would ask you to please share my video so that others may find it. Let's get started. Sir Humphrey Gilbert was the first to receive letters patent or a royal charter from Queen Elizabeth I. These papers was given on June the 11th of 1578, which gave him 6 years to locate and colonize any remote, barren, heathen land not occupied by or under control of any Christian ruler in an alliance with England. His first attempt to reach the New World happened in November of the same year, 1578, with 7 ships. However, the first ship to turn back due to a lack of supplies was the Falcon, which was owned and operated by his half-brother, Walter Raleigh. For reasons unknown, they never made it the rest of the way and had to return home also. Then, in 1579, he received a commission from the Lord Deputy of Ireland to intercept a Spanish fleet sending aid to Fitzgerald in what would be known as the Second Desmond Rebellions. So he set sail in June of 1579 for the task. However, due to fog and heavy rain, he gets lost off of Land's End, Cornwall. He is forced into the Bay of Biscay and ends up allowing the Spanish to sail past and reach their destination. As you can imagine, this did not make the Queen very happy, causing doubts in his seafaring abilities, as was often mentioned in her text messages. Then on August the 5th, 1583, Gilbert set sail for his second and final attempt to make it to the New World and claim the settlement, as well as he was looking for a northern passage to China. Gilbert lands on Newfoundland, where he claims the land for Her Royal Majesty, the Queen. However, within weeks, his crew departs without even attempting to create a settlement due to a lack of supplies. Gilbert remains on his favorite ship, the 10-ton HMS Squirrel, with disregard of superior sailors on the voyage, and in his own controlling way, he orders a change in course, which leads to the ship Delight running aground and shortly thereafter sinking on a sandbar off the coast of Sable Island. Only 16 men survived off of the Delight. It was no delight on that trip. On August 31st, Gilbert finally decides to return home with the recommendations of the more experienced sailors. However, he remained on his favorite ship, contrary to the others trying to convince him to stay on the Golden Hind, which was the largest ship in his fleet. The Squirrel went down after a storm at night, and Gilbert was lost at sea. That was the end of Humphrey Gilbert's attempt to colonize. Then, in 1584, Queen Elizabeth gives a new royal charter to Walter Raleigh, Sir Humphrey Gilbert's half-brother, with the same purpose of creating a colony in the New World for Her Majesty. But Raleigh was given 7 years to complete the task. The only payment required of his as well as his half-brother's royal charter was any gold or silver mined he would have to give the Queen 20%. Walter dispatches an expedition to go and explore the eastern coast of North America. He was most interested in Chesapeake Bay, although I have not found any older documents to verify his desire on why he wanted to colonize Chesapeake Bay. The only information that I could even come close to guessing was from an Italian expedition earlier, and the fact that Chesapeake Bay was an estuary with fresh water from the mouth of the Susquehanna River. The expedition was led by Philip Armadas and Arthur Barlow. They ended up in what would be Roanoke Island, however. They did return with word of how ideal the island was to colonize, with fertile ground and resources available. They brought along with them two Croatans named Monteo and Wanchese, who described the politics and geography to Raleigh. Wanchese, the ruler of the Roanoke Island tribe, was offering great timeshares on beachside teepees at New World prices. However, the queen could not be sold. She was, however, so impressed by the information Raleigh received, she knighted him. And no, Wanchese was not selling timeshares. Sorry. April 9th of 1585, Sir Walter Raleigh sends a new expedition to colonize Roanoke Island, which he funds with his own money and with close friends' money. The 5-ship voyage was led by Sir Richard Grenville, Raleigh's cousin. After suffering a storm on May 12th, Grenville sets anchor at Mosquito Bay near Puerto Rico. I wonder if Mosquito Bay had the blue illuminescence in the water, which is really cool. I've always wanted to get over there and see it. The ships Roebuck and Red Lion followed different routes. In the process of waiting, Grenville orders the men to build a fort and smithy. Finally tired of waiting, though, for the missing ships, Grenville orders to set sail in late May, after setting fire to the fort and the surrounding woods. Grenville next sets sail off of the port of La Isabella Hispaniola, inviting the local inhabitants on board the Tiger. On June the 3rd, the governor accepts his offer and comes on board to dine with them. He was so impressed by Grenville's hospitality, the government allows him to get all the supplies they need to set up their settlement. They set sail again, heading north. On June the 29th, while passing the Wocacan Inlet, Simon Fernandino, who was the navigator, fails to steer the Tiger properly through the inlet and causes damage to the ship, allowing a devastating water leak that damages a major part of the provisions. There were originally enough provisions to provide the colony for a year, but Simon's accident only left enough provisions for maybe a month. The colonists resented him for this mistake, as would I. I mean, come on. You have a year's worth of supplies, now you're down to less than a month. On the June the 27th, 1585, they finally set anchor close to Roanoke. There was tension between the soldiers and the gentlemen, particularly between Richard Grenville and Ralph Lane, a veteran allied with Francis Walsingham, who was more interested in the idea of engaging into a battle with the Spanish than colonizing the island. Back then, privateering was very profitable business. They finally settled on colonizing and the northern side of Roanoke Island. Ralph Lane was made the governor. I guess it's a good way to get him on your side. On the 25th of August, Grenville sets sail back to London, leaving Lane in charge of 107 men at the new colony. There was no women on this initial expedition to colonize, and the reason being is because Walter Raleigh wanted men that was highly skilled at building, at smithing, and at military operations, to secure the fort. Most likely, his idea was to establish a colony and create a foothold, and then send in for women and create families. Once again, I could not find anything to specifically identify that as his goal. So, setting sail on August 25th, back to London, Grenville leaves Lane in charge of 107 men at the new colony. On departing, Grenville promises that he will return with more supplies in April of the following year, 1586. However, he was not there in April. Early June 1586, Sir Francis Drake stopped at the colony after a successful raid in the Caribbean and offered to bring the colonists back to England with him. With no sign of Grenville's return and relations with the Indians continuing to decline, Lane finally decided to take him up on his offer. They did depart out with Sir Francis Drake on June the 18th. Ironically, the supply ship sent by Sir Walter Raleigh arrives on Hatteras on June the 19th. Not locating the colonists, it returns to England. Sir Richard Grenville arrives at the village early in July. The colonists were not there either. Grenville was not wanting to lose colonization, so he leaves 15 men at the fort in Roanoke. However, along with the 15 men, he left enough supplies for 2 years. I will continue on my next video. It goes a little bit further in. I will also discuss a little bit more about Walter Raleigh and a little bit more about Simon Fernandino, who will play another important role in the next attempt. So please, stay tuned. I could not fit it all on a 15-minute video. I will get the next one out within a couple of days. I'm sorry this one took so long. I have been trying to figure out how to get this whole thing below 15 minutes. It was not possible. I am not that good. But I enjoy this history, so if you have any questions, leave them. We'll communicate. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.